Hello there guys, Francis Gray here, and in today's video we're going to be making a custom diorama from this fella here, the Tim Curry version of Pennywise from the TV adaptation of the movie It. I'll see you after this. Okay guys, so in this video we're going to be customizing this Tim Curry version of Pennywise from this statue. Now I believe this statue was made by a company called Diamond Select Toys. I've had this statue for about a year and a half now, roughly, and I really do like the look of it and I like the pose. I'm just not a fan of the spider legs and the smoke. They work fine with the statue, don't get me wrong, it is a really nice statue, but I've always wanted to make this into the very famous scene from the movie / TV series where I believe the Losers Club sees Pennywise for the first time, and he seems to be walking on water on this like murky river, and there's all like lily pads all around him, and then in the distance is the remains of a old sewage works, which is the entrance into his lair, and there's kind of old and decrepit, and there's like a load of like foliage from the woods behind. So this is going to be that build, or it's going to be my version of as close as I can get to that. So yeah, as you know, in the scene we don't see that he's this like spider kind of creature until much later in the movie. So for now we're going to be customizing this and taking it off the base, and I'll be sculpting him some new feet. So sit back and enjoy, and I will see you at the end of the video. Okay guys, so here we have the statue from Diamond Select Toys. Now the first thing we're going to do is try and remove the main figure from the base that we don't need. So in order to soften the glue, we're going to go ahead and take a hairdryer and gently heat the bottom of the base, and then with a little bit of friendly persuasion we should be able to remove it from, well, the base. Okay guys, so as you can see that took quite a bit of effort to get that off there. Now one thing I am happy with is the sculptor sculpted the bottom ruffles to the bottom of his trousers, and because I thought that wasn't going to be there, because obviously you don't see that in once it's housed by all this. So that's a nice little bonus. So yeah, all I need to do now is grind this down and then sculpt him some new shoes, and clown shoes. As for this, I'm pretty sure this can be used for something else further down the road. So I'll just put this in my bit box, and then hopefully one day we can use it again. Okay guys, I think that's probably about as best as I'm going to get that. So yeah, let's put this to one side and then think about how we're going to make the shoes.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Okay guys, so after a little bit of a play around, I made a few decisions. So first of all, in the scene that I want to recreate, he is holding the balloons in his right hand and his left hand is pointing. So with the left hand pointing, I figured that this hand needs to be holding the balloons, but as you can see there, it just goes straight down. So with this being like a PVC, in theory I can probably just heat this up or make a few little cuts and then re-sculpt over and then repaint. But in the meantime, it's going to be a little bit tricky. So we need to get rid of this. So this is probably going to be the next job that I'm going to do. As for the alien looking hand, that's just going to go in the bit box. I also took the head off as well, purely because in this scene here, this is where he is slightly damaged, where I think it's Richie squirts his face with an inhaler.
This is battery acid, you slime!
No, it's not Richie, sorry. And he says it's battery acid, and he gets all damaged down one side of his face. Now the scene where I'm going to recreate, he hasn't got no damage. So I do like this head, but it's not perfect, it's not accurate. So what I might do is I might look online, see if I can find something, 3D print it, and then replace it with this. And if I can't do that, then I might have to have a go at trying to sculpt. Okay guys, that's turned out okay. Now I'll go over this later on with some milliput, and then that should smooth that out nicely. But for the next stage, probably a good idea to see if I can find some a file online to recreate this hand. Okay guys, so I started by going on my favourite website for 3D files, thingiverse.com, and I found this, which was like a filament holder spool feeder. And as you can see there, it's like a right hand, which is perfect, and it's in the closed position, and it's got a hole in it for the filament, which is where we can later add balloons. So this is perfect. So I went ahead and downloaded this, and then I did a bit of a crop session on the back of it, and then that's the hand done. And next I went online and I looked at some clown shoes. And this was also on Thingiverse, uploaded by a user called Custom, and it was originally designed to be a pencil/pen holder, but I thought this would work really well for some clown shoes for Pennywise. So I took me time and sliced off the back, filled it in, and then I copied it and flipped it, mirrored it over, so it was left and right shoe. So those should be ready now, and now we can crack on with the face or the head. So for the head, I couldn't find any decent files on Thingiverse, so I went to another website called cgtrader.com, and I found this, which was like a Tim Curry's Pennywise kind of bust. And even though it's only like I suppose the first 1/3 of a human head, it is a good likeness, and it is a good design to start off with. So what I did was I bought this, downloaded it, and then I put it into matter control, and then I took my time to clean up the sides, because we don't need the hair and we don't need the ruffles and we don't need the logo. And then I went back onto thingiverse.com and I found a generic bald human head, male, and then I decided to overlap Pennywise's face over the other human head, and then put that into Blender and then smoothed it all out, and then we had a rather fetching looking Tim Curry's Pennywise snarling head. So now that we've got all our extra parts that we needed, I'll go ahead and create that into one file, and then we can print it off, and then I can show you the finished results. Okay guys, so here are the parts printed. So you can see we've got two clown shoes, we've got his right hand, and then we've got a brand new gnarly face, and he's the original face, and I just think this looks more imposing and scary than what this does. So yeah, I'll go ahead and clean it all up now, and then we can go ahead and prime these parts. Okay, so for the next part I'm going to go in with some regular white wood fella, and I'm just going to go over some little tiny imperfections and then leave that to dry, and then we can go ahead and we can grey prime it.
A little later.
Okay guys, so now that all the new parts have been printed and been given a base coat colour, let's go ahead and add them to the main figure of Pennywise. So I decided, because his arm is more like front face and holding the balloons rather than down the side of him, I decided to go in with some sharp pliers and cut away all the excess plastic. So now that the feet is now nicely smooth, we're going to go in with a really fine drill bit, and we're going to go in with some very small wire, and we're going to do a drill and pin job in order to get these to line up and stay in place. Once they've been added in place, just regular super glue to the rescue, and then we'll leave to dry, and then we can think about filling in the seam in a bit. Okay guys, so I went ahead and mixed some milliput, and I've filled out and sculpted over some of the holes or the imperfections. Now we still have a little one on the side there, so I'll just go ahead and fill that in now, and then yeah, just typical, just leave it to dry and then go over it with a sanding block or a file, make it all smooth, and then we can go ahead and touch up the paint job and make it all match. So while we've got some milliput left over, I decided to rework and sculpt over the original pom-poms that's on the front of Pennywise's costume. Now the statue, for some reason, they painted them red, but in the TV movie and also in the novel, they are very prominently known for being orange. So also with it being like mass produced and made from a mold, these pom-poms are kind of like very flat, so I thought if I go over with some milliput and then add a little bit of like sculpting to it to make them look a bit more 3D and a bit more fluffy, if you like, then when we go to paint this later on, these will look more realistic rather than just like static plastic. So I'm just going ahead and doing the detailing with just a simple toothpick. Just take my time, make sure I get in there, and then leave it to dry, and then we can start adding some paint. Okay, so before I go ahead and add the arm in place, I need to recreate the colour scheme and the pattern on Pennywise's kind of waistcoat. So I'm just going to go in with some matte black for now, give it a one quick coat, leave it to dry, and then we can build up the other colours later on. So now that the pom-poms have now dried, I'm going to go in with a medium orange tester pot from Wilco's, and this will make a nice base coat. So for the next part I'm going to go in with various colours, and I'm going to just add some highlights and some shading, and then recreate some of that waistcoat pattern. So the next part, this part's going to be a fast forward montage just so you get the basic overall idea. Okay, so for the next part, now Pennywise has these two kind of coloured ribbons that go on the bottom of the ruffles of his ankles, and there's the same metallic green and the metallic purple that we used on his arms, so we've definitely got the right colours there. But this is going to be a little bit tricky because you've got to paint it straight but lapping over and under, in and out the creases. So you could very easily wander off and, you know, go wrong. So yeah, patience is a virtue here. And once you've done those, there's like a black band that goes just higher than the feet, which basically just keeps the overall bagginess, you know, draw down to where the feet are. So it's definitely there in the film. So if it's in the film, we should really try to strive to recreate it. Okay, so a quick top up of gloss black, and the shoes should be done. Okay, so I'm going to start with a electric blue from Games Colour, and this is going to be a base tone. Now I know most people would just keep this white, but I find that if you give it like a blue undertone first and then build up the layers of white on top of it, it goes a long way to adding shading in all the little nooks and crannies. So I know at the moment it looks more like a Nosferatu vampire, but soon we can be adding the white, and then he'll soon start to take shape and look like the Pennywise that we all know and love. Okay, first coat of white is a go. And now second coat. And now a third coat. So now that that's dry, I'm going to go in with a gory red from Game Colour again, and I'm just going to get into the eyes and do the inside of the mouth and around the teeth. And obviously we're going to be adding more colours later on, but this is just like a base coat just so we can build upon later on. So seeing as we got the gory red out, I decided to use this as a base tone for Pennywise's hair. And now in with the black. So now we're going to go in with a touch up of white, just add some highlights, and then we're going to start emphasizing the eyes. And now I'm going to go in with some magic blue, also from Games Colour, and I'm going to add those little triangles above his eyes. And now some vibrant red for the nose and the lips, etc. And now some yellow for his pupils, and we're going to go ahead and use a medium brown watercolour to stain his teeth. And now that he's starting to take shape, I'm going to go in with some matte varnish, and then this is just going to go a long way to sealing everything that we've painted so far. So once that was left to fully dry, I then went in and attached the original hair to the new head. I feel like I'm losing my mind. And now that that's on there, there's a few tiny little seam lines. So same again, regular standard Abe's epoxy to the rescue. I'm going to make sure it gets into all the nooks and crannies, and then sculpt the missing details, leave to dry, and then we can go ahead and go back in with some more of that gory red. Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth.
And last but not least, I'm going to go in with some gloss varnish, and then this is just going to add a nice wet look to the eyes and the teeth and the inside of the mouth. Everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign. Okay guys, so here's a quick comparison side by side. So as you can see, the new head in variation with the old head, and me myself, I much prefer the new head because that looks more intimidating. Okay, so now we should think about start adding the new head to the body. So I'm just going to start by clipping the wire and then just line everything up, and then some super glue to the rescue, and then hopefully it fits nice and snug. Don't need the different flavors of your problems just to savor. I've got my own issues.
A little later.
So now that the head is glued in place, as you can see there's a little tiny bit of a seam line. So we need to go ahead and recreate more of that ruffle around his neck to hide that seam line. So if I use standard milliput, that would dry green and then I'd have to go in with paint. So instead I'm going to use this stuff, which is extremely white milliput. And same again, it's just equal measures A and B mixed together, but they're both white sticks, so it's hard to tell if it's fully mixed or not, because everything's just white altogether. So just take extra time mixing it, and then hopefully all's good, and then just add it in place and leave to dry. I need to run away from this and go get off the grid. Feel like my brain is overloaded, man, I'm losing it. Don't let them tell you what to do, man, they don't know shit. Okay guys, that's looking good now, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that a few hours to fully cure. Okay guys, so we need to go ahead and start thinking about creating some balloons for Pennywise to hold. So I found this file again on thingiverse.com, and it was just a static, just generic balloon. But in order to print this off evenly, I had to cut it in half and then add all parts. So like on the left side is the top of the balloon, and the right side is the underside of the balloon, and then just times that by 6 and then just print it on the filament printer. Okay guys, so here they are, all printed off. Now as you can see here, we do have a bit of stringing. So I'm just going to give these a quick clean up, and then we can start thinking about gluing them together. Okay guys, I'll go ahead and I'll do the exact same to all the rest, and then I'll get back to you after that.
75 years later.
Okay guys, here we go, all 6 done, all filed down, and now we're just waiting for the super glue to fully dry, and then we'll crack on with the next stage.
5 minutes later.
Okay guys, in order to fill out the centre seam, I'm going to go in with some more PLA, but this time with a 3D pen, and I'm just going to get it on in there, leave it to harden, and then we can think about smoothing it all down, and then in theory it should be all one covered filament balloon, well, times 6. Okay, so now that that is a lot more smoother, we're going to go in and just coat over with good old trusted white wood filler, just to make sure that there's no any errors or imperfections. Leave that to dry, and then on to the next stage. Okay guys, so for the next part, now that the balloon is more balloon shape, I went ahead and I bought some of these, which are floral products. So I think these are just for like for flower making, etc. But with it being like a stiff taut piece of wire and thin, it will be work fantastic for the taut part of the string for all our balloons. So the idea is I'm going to take a very fine drill bit, and I'm going to carefully drill up a channel inside all these balloons, and then we can go ahead and we can glue these in place, and then we can crack on with the next part after that. Okay guys, so for the next stage I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add a little bit of super glue to the ends, and I'm going to stick them in place and then leave them overnight to fully dry, and then tomorrow we can go ahead and give these a quick spray in the spray booth.
24 hours later.
Okay guys, so after leaving that white primer to fully dry, for the next stage I'm going to go in with some of this stuff, which is UV resin, and I'm just going to take my time and paint over all the balloons, and then that'll give it like a surface skin. Now ignore that first part that I'm working on there. That is going to be in the second video. I just did these at the same time because they both needed doing it at the same time. So more on that in the second video. I won't spoil anything right now. But yeah, getting back to the balloons, just give them a quick once over coat, and then I put them in my curing machine and let them cure.
A few minutes later.
Okay, so they're all fully cured now. So for the next stage, I'm going to go in with some base colours and I'm going to paint them the various colours that Pennywise has. And once they were given a couple of coats, I'm going to go into the spray booth with some nice gloss varnish and give these at least 2 coats to make them nice and shiny and rubbery, just like a regular balloon. Okay guys, so now that the balloons are ready, now I'm going to go ahead and I want to add these to his right hand, but I haven't glued the hand in place, or the arm, sorry, in place just yet. That is because it'll be a lot easier to work on these with an arm that I can easily rotate and get to, rather than one that's static and put in place. So yeah, so just widen the hole out for, with a long file, and then I'm just going to take my time and try and feed all the wires of these balloons inside his hands, and then try to make them match the scene as best I can, and then good old super glue to the rescue, and that's just gonna squeeze it down into the hole in his hand, leave it till to fully dry, and then we can think about adding the arm at a later stage. Okay guys, so for the next stage, now you can see there the hair's kind of static, but in the film it's quite over the top fuzzy. So I think if we took the extra steps to make the orange pom-poms more fuzzy, then in theory we should do the hair as well. So I went ahead and bought a pack of pom-poms, got a red one, cut it in half, and then I'm going to add some PVA glue to Pennywise's hair, and then I'm going to add the pom-poms in place and build it up slowly, and then hopefully at the end of it we should have some nice red crazy clown hair. Okay guys, it's starting to look good now, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this to dry.
Later that night.
Okay, so now that that's done, all's left is to go in with some regular super glue, and then just super glue his arm in place and then leave him to dry. Okay guys, so here he is, Mr. Tim Curry himself, aka Pennywise, all finished and all done. And I have to admit, I am happy with the finished result on this. It has turned out like I expected, or it turned out as nice as I expected. So all the extra 3D parts printed really come to lending this piece, you know, make it stand out from what it used to be to what it is now. So yes, I am happy with the finished results. So yeah, so this is part 1. In part 2 we're going to be scratch building a base diorama to him with a nice backdrop. So expect the old sewage works, the forest, all the greenery that blends up into the murky river water with all the lily pads, etc. And then obviously this guy stood on top with his balloons looking iconic, like from the movie scene. So, if you've liked this build, please smash that like button, share on Facebook and Twitter, because it helps new people find the YouTube channel, which I'm always appreciative. Thank you for any help. If you have any comments, comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future builds. And if you want to be really awesome, please take 5 minutes to check out my Patreon page, and hopefully for a bit of help we can do these videos a lot more frequently, and I can do it full time rather than here and there part time. So once again, I'm Francis Gray and this is Tim Curry as Pennywise.
Kiss me, fat boy!
I'll see you in part 2.